Hello and welcome back to my Dandelion Diaries. We are in the final stretch of Inkmas and officially opening day 20 today. 5 days till Christmas, y'all. 5 days. Whew. Let's see what we get today. Okay. Looks like we have an ink called, I think it's Popourri, and it seems to be a standard ink. I'm interested to see how this compares to the other kind of purpley sticker color we had like this, but let's swatch it out. Okay, so initial thoughts on this one is I feel like it's very similar to 𝗦𝘃𝗽𝗏 that we got earlier in this calendar, but it's more like if 𝗦𝘃𝗏 and Wilted Rose had a baby. It's a dusty gray pink, and it does look like it's going to have some pretty nice shading with it as well. Initial writing with it just on my swatch card here, it was pretty decently flowy, like it didn't feel super dry, but full disclosure, we'll get to dry wetness when I get to the full swatch of a page of writing, but it did feel okay initially. I do think this color is pretty. I am surprised to see another pastel-y color, considering we've gotten several kind of light colors in this color vent, or in this advent, oh my gosh, in this ink vent. Yeah, I'm surprised to see another light one. And I'm surprised that almost every standard we've had in this calendar has been a lighter ink, which is kind of interesting. I do want to compare this to an ink we got in the color vent, as well as the other one in this calendar, the 𝗦𝘃𝗏, just side by side. I want to see what they look like since I don't have those in my swatch book. But I'm really thinking this is going to look similar to some of the Sailor inks that have the chroma shading, because it looks like it's going to have that kind of fun, multi-tonal shade thing going on with it. But let me bring out the other swatches from the calendars this year, and then we'll do the full swatch with the swatch book. Okay, so here we have 𝗦𝘃𝗏 from this year's Diamine 2024 Black Inkvent, and this is Morning Glow from the Colorverse color vent that was, I think, 2 days ago. My days get mixed up with all of these, not gonna lie. And here we have the Potpourri. They are different, which makes me happy to see. Initially, I thought they would be very similar, but they definitely are much different, especially in writing. You can see that 𝗦𝘃𝗏 comes off much more dark purple, or purple gray, if you will, and Potpourri is still firmly pink. However, I feel like the Morning Glow and the Potpourri are similar. Potpourri is pulling much more pink, Morning Glow is much more gray, but I think in writing, the Morning Glow is less exciting and that it's pretty gray throughout. There's not a lot of shading, and with Potpourri I feel like we're getting more of those kind of pinky tones peeking out with the gray. I'm not mad about it now. I thought they were going to be really similar. I originally thought we were going to have too many inks that look the same this year, but I'd say they're pretty different all around, especially when it comes down to what it looks like it's going to be in the writing, which makes me happy. But it's still a light ink, which I'm kind of surprised about. But let me open up the campus book here and see what other kind of swatches we have that might match Potpourri. Okay, so I'm going to start with the pinks here. I do also want to bring this into the grays and see if I have anything there that might match, but I want to start with pinks for sure. I know on camera it doesn't seem this way, but Birmingham Pen Company's Chrysanthemum is kind of similar in tone to Potpourri. They're both about the same lightness, like washed out gray tone. Chrysanthemum is slightly more gray purple, I'll say, and Potpourri is still pretty firmly like reddish pink, and I think that's what's pulling through on the camera, but in person they are a bit more similar. In the swatch, it's similar to Robert Oster's Pink Squirrel. Pink Squirrel is much darker, it seems, and doesn't have as much of the shading as Potpourri does, but it's nice to see a darker color like this out there if you were searching for one. It's almost an exact dupe of Sailor Ink Studios 252. In person, they are almost exactly the same ink, which is interesting to see. 252 does have a bit of like a black halo thing going on with it. And for Potpourri, it looks like it's drying that way. Since my swatch isn't completely dry yet, I can't confirm it's going to be black or another color, but it does look like it has a similar halo effect on the letters, which is usually really beneficial if you have a light ink, because then you can actually read it if you're doing anything with writing. It's also kind of close to Wearingeul's 12th Night. 12th Night is a bit more pink, like baby pink, and it does have a really pretty blue shimmer with it as well. But I think they're close in that they're a bit more of that like dusty pink color. It's also similar to Van Diemen's Snowy Mountain Sunset, another one that's kind of a shimmery, lighter, washed out pink. I think in writing, they would look very, very close together, but in the swatch, they're pulling a little bit different. No, I don't think it's close enough for that. I was going to say Rosewood Twinkle down here, but Rosewood Twinkle is much more, I think, brown and washed out. Okay, that's all I have for pinks. Let me check magentas really quick. Wait, do I have one more pinks that I missed? No, okay. Yeah, let me check the magentas. It's like if you wanted a darker version with actually really great shading, it's Platinum's Lavender Black. It's very close to that. Okay, this is kind of a surprise for me. This is the Robert Oster Coffee Monsters Co. collab Day to Night. The swatch is kind of close and the writing is kind of close, but the Robert Oster is again slightly darker, but the shading looks very similar in that it goes to be a bit more of a darker shading with a halo effect. That's really interesting to see, and I know that Helen over at the Coffee Monsters Co. only did a limited run of this, so I don't know if it would ever come back. And with Potpourri, maybe you'd have a really close dupe to get the same kind of tone that you would be looking for with that. Let me pull out my grays and see what we have with that. Okay, here we have the grays. I really do think that Potpourri is very pink compared to everything in the grays, at least initially, but we shall see. This is Sailor Yermeku's Byakuya, which the Potpourri is a much darker version, it seems, but the shading is similar in tone in that kind of like baby pink era. Wow. It's a very, very close dupe for Pennsylvania Fieldstone by Birmingham Pen Company. At least in person and on this paper, they look very, very close together. I know on camera, Pennsylvania Fieldstone likes to go pretty gray and in the field tones. Fieldstone. But in person, it does pull very pink. So that's kind of cool to see that they are so close together in person. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, I think that's it. I think the closest ones we had were in the pink family, but I am glad to see that this could be a possible dupe for Pennsylvania Fieldstone by Birmingham Pen Company, because that's a really beautiful ink and it's very well flowing. On that note, I'm hoping that this ink is going to be pretty well flowing, but only time will tell until I do the writing sample. But as you can see, it definitely shades very far down to a darker pink, or I should say a medium pink, and it has this like black haloing looking thing, which is really nice. I do think this would probably play well best in fine, medium, broad, or stub nibs. I don't know how well it'll do in extra fine, but let me do a writing sample and I will see if I have any changed opinions on that. Okay, so after writing with this for a full page, I can confirm that it does flow fairly well. It's not incredibly viscous or anything. It's not like just gushing and just super flowy, but it's pretty average. I would say that. I don't feel like it's super dry for me. I do think, though, the color is a bit too light for extra fine and maybe even fine nibbed pens. It did come off very, very light here at the end. Granted, this is usually when my pen runs, or my dip pen runs out of ink, so that could factor into it as well. So maybe if you have like a really well flowing extra fine nib, you'd be perfectly fine, but it is just a lighter ink. Keep that in mind. I think the shading showed up beautifully in the writing. I honestly really like the way it looks with the more broad nib, the flat side of the Fude nib at least. And yeah, it's a pretty color. It definitely shows up very gray pink in writing. It doesn't pull super pink and it doesn't pull super gray. It's definitely a good mix of both. I think this is a perfect description of dusty pink, and it definitely is more pink than brown or gray or anything like that. I feel like. Here is a close-up of the card in case you wanted this ink all up in your face. It is absolutely beautiful in the swatch, and I feel like in writing it's still doing a pretty good job, at least with the shading, but I think painting-wise, this ink would be absolutely gorgeous and would do a very good job showing different kind of shades in a painting. But yeah, it's pretty. Not my favorite. I kind of wanted a dark standard ink, and I know we only have a few days left in the calendar, but of all the standards we got, I feel like they're all very, very similar in that they're a bit more of a washed out, lighter kind of pastel-y color. But it's okay. You know, we will see what the rest of the days bring us, at least until Christmas. Anyways, Christmas is right around the corner, so I hope you got all of your shopping done if you were giving gifts. I also hope that you are going to be spending lots of time with loved ones, and if you're not, you can hang out with me because I will be sharing videos on Christmas Day here as well. But yeah, what do you guys think about this one? I would love to hear your thoughts. I'm also interested to see what we get for Colorverse after this because yesterday's Colorverse ink just, you know, really made me happy, so I'm hoping that trend continues. Anyways, again, I hope you're having a good day. Be blessed. Merry Christmas, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.